Trust the broadcast lady to interrupt me. They're so rude. Right, so hopefully you didn't hear the beginning, and I'm not repeating it, but welcome to this year's EA and PA campaign presentation, where my colleague Russell Schultz, Head of Process Automation, myself, Marcus Carricker, Head of Electric Automation, going to take you through some of the new products. So with that being said, we're just going to give it a couple of seconds while the people are coming in. We see the numbers are climbing quite quickly, so we're not going to be too late, maybe a minute or so, but make yourselves comfortable. I believe you're going to enjoy what we've got in store for you today. I know I do. I'm enjoying everything I see from the PA side. So yeah, if you've got any questions, for those of you that have logged in already, you'll see that on your landing screen there is a couple of rules for this webinar. So if you've got any questions, please put them down in the chat. We've got our lovely ladies in the marketing department that'll see if they can address it for us. If not, don't worry, we do have a Q&A session right at the end. So please don't put your hand up. I know the instruction does say put your hand up, but we'd like to have an interactive session right at the end. We are covering quite a couple of topics today, so we're going to be pushing through, and we don't want any unnecessary delays. Eh, Russell?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. So I see our numbers are climbing. We'll just give it another minute. What is the time now? 10:30. So yeah, let's just give it another minute. So we see a couple of guys. Oh, welcome. We see some people all the way up in Africa, and maybe one or two international people joining us today. So, Russell, how's that? That some of our international colleagues are taking the time to actually see what we're doing. I think we're leading this EAPA campaign in South Africa.
We're becoming famous, I think, eh? But it is a unique campaign.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think in PA specifically, we're leading a lot of applications, and I think we're actually leading with the EA into mining globally. Right. So well done to you and your team there as well.
You might be wondering why EA and PA campaign. Well, Vesta has a great reputation in the pneumatic market for great products, and we've been around for years and years and years. But people forget, or don't actually know in some cases, that we actually are electric automation and process automation specialists. So the theme behind this campaign is Vesta, at the heart of absolute automation. In other words, we can cover all your automation needs, not just pneumatic automation, but process and electric automation. And today's focus is just on electric and process automation, our new products, which we look forward to delivering to you.
Yeah. Awesome. So with that being said, Russell, I think we've 2 minutes in. I'm going to start off with the landing screen. So like Russell said, EA and PA overview, not necessarily all the new products, but maybe just a couple of updates and a bit of technical. So for this year in the EA and PA campaign, we're focusing on growing specific products within each industry. And that's what it's all about today, to give you some info about what we do, how we do it, where we can do it, and hopefully you see some applications where we can get involved.
Maybe you want to point out that this is quite a comprehensive offering, so there is limited time to discuss each topic itself. So if there are more training needs that you might have or more questions afterwards, we can always address this in a separate training session with you. So then please don't feel this is the last opportunity. This is almost like a sneak preview of the basic highlights.
The one thing that Russell did say, we are the EA and PA, we are leaders in that. The one thing we're not leaders in are these types of presentations. So if we stumble and we spill something, it's just because we're human. Well, we still make mistakes.
Luckily, it's just water, Marcus.
That's what he says. All right, so with that, I'm going to hand over to you, Russell. You're going to take the guys through the agenda.
Yeah, okay. So the very first topic this morning is the CPX-API Remote I/O from Vesta. Very exciting, and it has applications both in the electric factory automation as well as the process automation space. Then I'll be taking you through the DFPC. It's our new linear actuator, compact actuator. Also very excited about this product and its applications in industry. Then we're talking about the SMS, Simplified Motion Series, and the extension of that range itself. And then we're tackling the DFPI. It's a product which we have discussed in the past, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning again, particularly with its growth of recent. Then Marcus comes back into the CPX-E, a modular PLC, a motion controller, followed by the DFPD, which is our pneumatic quarter-turn actuator and all its latest developments and accessories. And then we take you through the electric motion sizing software. I must confess, Vesta has really done a huge stride in making this software very simple and easy to use now, Marcus. So it'd be nice to see what the guys' reactions to that are. And then from there, I'll take you through the angle seat valves, the VZXA, And then Marcus will then take you through the CMMT and the EMMT, our servo motor controllers and motors. And then the second last topic is the PCRP, which is our new process filter regulator. And lastly, I'll then take you through the PA online configurator, our PA software. And then the end will be reserved then for Q&A, where you guys can unmute your microphones or type in questions. But that pretty much wraps up the summary.
100%. Looking forward to it. All right, so I'm going to kick it off with the CPX-API Remote I/O. So for those of you that haven't seen Festo Remote I/O, Festo has developed an IP65, IP67 Remote I/O because of the need and the growth demands that we see from modular machines. If you look 10 years ago, we had machines with one big panel, and the traditional installation would be running a whole bunch of copper cables. So what is the issue with that? One, it's taking time to configure, it takes time to install, you have to put your wire numbers on, etc. And that's where, with the Remote I/O, we look at speeding things up. It's not necessarily about the purchase cost of an item, but the intangible cost, the quicker installation, being able to get data in quite a lot faster, and also with simplified installation. So to kick us off, I've got a little video that I'm going to play for you guys. So hopefully that'll give you a nice insight as to exactly how this works. So hopefully this video will kick off. And awesome. Hopefully you guys will
Marcus,
have a better idea
before
of
you
this.
continue, why another remote I/O to the marketplace? Why is there a need?
Russell, that's actually a very good question, and it's quite easy to answer. We want to add value to the customers, and the majority of our customers use our pneumatic valves. And yes, there are other people that manufacture remote I/O, but why is our benefit is we can get direct access into the low cost or more cost-effective valve terminals, getting things like valve cycle count, cable quality monitoring, all of that which the other competitors can't. So it gives you the added benefit of reduced equipment in the pneumatic factory automation space.
And from one supplier, I suppose, eh?
One supplier, everything can be done.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Russell. So when it comes to the API, it's our standard new technology. We're actually incorporating this new AP technology, which is high-speed technology, into all of our equipment. So from our normal CPX valve terminals to the CPX-API Remote I/O. And looking at industrial automation and where it's going, Industry 4.0 is what we need to take into account. And this is where the CPX-API remote really comes in. It enables big data, high speeds, taking things down from component level, as simple as a valve, all that data and diagnostics up into the cloud. So that being said, the guys should be aware of our complete factory solution. So on your screen, you should see a standard factory, and that's where the distributed I/O really comes in. You'll see that no matter what PLC that your customer has standardized or what you have standardized, as long as it conforms to Ethernet IP, Modbus, Profinet, or EtherCAT, these modules can connect in seamlessly.
So you're saying it's not vendor specific?
Not vendor specific at all. So now you can have IO-Link masters, you can have inputs and outputs, and you can have up to 80 modules connected to one master module. So imagine having 30 IO-Link masters. So that's 30 times 4 IO-Link devices on one master. So for those of you that don't know what our competitor products look like, that's what you see in the industry. IFM, Siemens, they all have this type of technology. So what makes ours, like you said, better or more suitable for you guys? So if we look at it, it's less interface cost. We can go directly into a valve terminal without needing a separate communication module. I'll show you now where we can save about 200 euros by using something. So I'm going to compare against Siemens at the moment because, let's face it, they are the biggest in the industry. So let's benchmark against the big guys and let's see if we can knock them out. So now we look at our competitor solution where they've got a Siemens PLC. Both our solution and theirs have a Siemens PLC. Same amount of I/O and valve terminals, and our solution ends up 200 euros cheaper.
200 euro?
200 euros, not 200 rand, 200 euros. Plus, we've got the option of being able to send that data up into the cloud with our CPX IoT unit. We also have, like I said, that benefit of valve cycle count. So now we can start doing predictive maintenance for when a valve is deemed to reach its life end. So you can start preventing failures and downtime.
So with our remote I/O, we can actually derive the proper true benefits of a valve terminal technology as well.
That's correct, yes. So you don't need to go for the flagship CPX valve terminal that gets all that diagnostics. You can use the VTUG that's assembled locally in Isando, as well as the MPAL, which is the most cost-effective valve terminal.
That's good to hear.
And further to that, it doesn't mean that you have to have it in one stream. So now you can have separate or segregated supply. So you can have safety circuits on one voltage supply. You can have the valve terminals on a different voltage supply. So it just gives you the benefits of being able to combine different structures. So we don't use specialized cables, single cable where the power and the comms is in one. We use standard M8 connectors, which means standard cables. Once again, easily available and a lot more cost effective.
Are you limited to distance then?
We do up to 15 meters between modules, and we will be releasing the 50. That's 50 meters between modules.
Sure.
So that really does give it to you. So yeah, let's have a look at the last knockout to give that punch up to the big guys. So if we see, compared against to a Siemens, we 8 times bigger in terms of network capability, double the speed with a lot more flexibility. And of course, we can then go directly into valve terminal without the additional modules. So the last benefit of this CPX-API remote is what we refer to as steady architecture. And that means for you as OEM, you build 2 machines, one for customer A that wants one type of PLC, and then you build machine 2 for the exact same machine for customer B that wants a different PLC. Now you have to change all the hardware down below. Well, if you standardize with Vesta, you don't need to. Anything below the PLC, all that we do is we change the main protocol, the bus, and then from there, you've got all the same. So whether you've got a Beckhoff, a Siemens, or perhaps an Omron, we just change the communication protocol. That means you can build the machine faster, reduce your spares, reduce your stock holding, and only thing you need to change is the PLC. So drawing, stock, all of that stays the same. All right, so why is this such a good device? In the presentation, you're more than welcome to read through some of those. But at the end of the day, like Russell said, it's one supplier, one stream of component, easier installation, and it's just a lot easier and simpler to install. But that's enough about me on the CPX-API. I'm going to hand over to Russell on the DFPC. Teach me, Russell, what is this DFPC?
Okay, well, it's Vesta's new generation compact linear cylinder, but it's designed around the process automation industry. So Vesta, as you know, has a whole variety of pneumatic cylinders, which are used in typical factory automation applications. But what we have been lacking for the last while now is a compact cylinder. I said compact, they call it often the pancake cylinder because there's very small end caps, but a cylinder designed around the process automation industry, specific to it and at an affordable price. And this unit itself does the trick. Let me show you why, Marcus. So if you take a look at the offering, we have the DSPG, DFPC range. It's ISO-based cylinders. And now the DFPC comes in between, so it fits both the ISO 15222 protocol as well as the ISO 5210, which is the ISO standard itself. So it means that we have a cylinder can work for both ISO standards, and its design purpose is set for the process automation industry itself. It does mean, though, that the DLP, which you have come to know, is being phased out. And as I said, that was a more expensive offering to the marketplace. The DFPC is between 40 and 50% less than the DLP, which is a significant saving. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
All right. If we take a look at the design, what's very different about it, and as I said, I referred to the pancake cylinder design, it has very thin end caps, so it's not meant for lateral loads, and it doesn't have a bearing cap. So like a typical cylinder, you can apply a lot of load to the rod, and it's supported by the bearing cap in the front end. This doesn't have that. But the application is designed for or around the process valves. So it sits with, for example, like a knife gate valve, where there's no linear or lateral load in the rod itself.
It's guided on the outside.
Guided by the outside. Exactly. All right. And this design, of course, optimizes the production cost and the selling prices itself. So as I already mentioned to you now, typical applications are things like knife gate valves, slurry valves, pinch valves, penstock valves, and butterfly valves with side crank mechanisms. So you can see it really is designed around process valve suppliers and, of course, process valve manufacturers and those who want to, of course, automate their process valves itself. And already we have signed up some very large international agreements with suppliers of these into the industry already. So it's showing that the item itself is getting lots of traction.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcus. All right, let's take a look at some of the features. So it is currently in double acting guys, but there is talk about going into single acting at some point in time as well. The piston diameter sizes right now are 80, 100, 125, and 160, and soon to be released is a 250 and 320. I apologize, the 200 also been released right now.
So that's a 200 diameter cylinder, quite a big boy. Yeah?
Yeah, right. And the stroke length is up to 2,000 millimeters. So already we can cater for all process valves out there already. All right. As I said, it has two configurations, namely, it has two standards it can facilitate, namely the ISO 5210 and the ISO 15552. It also is configurable. Now, like all Festo products these days, if you go to the website, you can configure it virtually, and you can extend things like the threads in the front end of the cylinder itself. So you can extend the mounting threads. You can change the thread itself on the rod, and you can extend the rod itself. So already, if you have a purpose-designed process valve, all your stands are slightly different. Vesta can accommodate you with a configurable tool, simple to use. Right?
Very interesting.
Then it comes with ATEX certification, and it has a whole assortment of accessories. Because it shares common platforms, the DSPG and the DSPC, it then has the same integrated components. So we can share the same mounting facilities or kits as well. All right? Okay. So it really is an optimized design cylinder, and it's a modular concept. Let's move on. All right. As I already mentioned to you, there are a whole bunch of accessories for it. Taking a look at the front end, we have a whole bunch of rod accessories. So it's far more than what you find in the industry. We have a lot you can do with the front end. Then we have an Amur interface plate, which allows you to directly mount an Amur valve on the side of the actual actuator itself. You can even mount outside or a linear potentiometer on the outside, so you can actually have precise control for throttling applications. And of course, an entire range of sensors mounted with the brackets to the profile itself. All right, Marcus, that's enough said from my side. Over to you.
Russell, you were mentioning something there about Namur. What is that Namur? Because to tell you the truth, I've got a Namur output on the PLC just now, and I wasn't sure what that is.
Okay. Marcus, it's a specific interface that is in both mechanical and electrical. In this case, mechanical, which allows you to then have a standard in the industry to then mount things like pilot solenoid valves to it. So you know every supplier who has it as a specification, you can take a mirror interface valve, and you can actually mount it to the actuator without any additional pipe work and so forth.
Okay, interesting. All right, but enough about PA for a while. Let's have a look, and we're touching base on simplified motion series. So you might see me trying to scurry here, it's just so that we ensure that we keep to time. All right, so what is the simplified motion series? It is what I call the bridge between the electric motion and pneumatic motion. So when you want the accuracy and the consistency of electric motion without the price tag that you normally get with these servo systems.
But if I look at the screen, those devices look like pneumatic devices.
Some of them do, yes. And that's the whole thing about Vesta. We've tried to use the same mechanics, and it is actual for all the mechanics that you see on the simplified motion, the exact same as that you can get standard, where you can use either standard stepper or servo equipment. So the simplified motion series, if you had to look at a standard, let's say a 50-bore pneumatic cylinder, we've got the electrical cylinder version. If you look at a rodless cylinder, we've got the belt drive version. So exactly what you've got in the pneumatics, we've got a direct replacement in the electrical side. So one of the things, the new products that's been released is the EPCE, which is our little short stroke. So if you compare it to an ADN, a little short stroke cylinder, this is what they've got in the electrical side. And the benefits of that, of course, is you can have two rods on one system for separating high-speed little actuators. So it's from 10 millimeter up to 50 millimeter strokes, really short stroke stuff.
Maybe you want to elaborate. In the Vesta pneumatic range, we have short stroke cylinders, and ADN is a range of those.
That's it, yeah.
So for short, compact applications, this is now the electrical equivalent of this, is it right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So when you've got space restraints and only short strokes required, this is where the EPCE. So what type of application do we look in? And it is designed, or shall I say it was designed, for basic tube position. So let's say you've got a lining where you want to move products into a line for a barcode printer, scanner, that type of thing. But you need the consistency where pneumatics might be maintenance intensive or might be irregular. So if you look at the third application where it says switch actuation, you often see a lane divider where you're separating products into two lanes. And more often than not, pneumatics might be a bit problematic, maybe labor intensive, and it changes where the electric solution doesn't. So if you've got basic applications, this is where simplified motion. So if you want to transfer maybe from left to right, you maybe want to pick it up on the top level, stacking type system, or if you want to stop a product in the line, this is where you can use the simplified motion.
So this is the equivalent of a pneumatic on-off application, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But there is a little bit more, and I'm going to touch base on it now.
All right.
But to compare and make it seem, or shall I say, to bring it into line and context with pneumatics, let's have a look at what you need in a pneumatic perspective versus what you can with a simplified motion series. So you'll see on the top there are PLCs on both the pneumatic and the electrical side, but what's below it is where it's different. So if we look on the left-hand side, where the simplified motion series is, there's one axis, one part number. So it's the motor, the axis, and the controller in one. So they get its supply and its control from the same PLC. And if you compare that to the pneumatics, we have our supply being the 6-bar air pressure. So that'll be the 24 volt. Now for the pneumatic side, you need a pressure regulator. You then need a valve.
Yeah.
Okay. You then need piping to the cylinder, and you have to do flow controls, and you have to incorporate the sensors. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components, where with the simplified motion series, you've got one component, one axis, one part number. So reduced maintenance, reduced installation complexity, and it's really designed for very good applications. So I'm going to share with you 2 applications that we've done in South Africa, and just quickly touch on why the benefits, what were the USPs, the unique selling points. And that was on the left-hand side, we look at where we're dosing food into a conveyor. And what we could do there is get rid of the pneumatics that were becoming inconsistent because of the temperature changes in the factory. They were getting condensation in the line, and that was causing problems with the valve in the cylinder. Now with this electric cylinder on there, they had positional feedback throughout the whole stroke, so they could measure how open and or what the status of the flap valve is.
But it's interesting. I mean, before, a couple of years back, control like this was quite complex.
Yes.
This is a very simple,
very
simplified
simple
motion series, right?
That's correct, hence the name.
Oh, right.
If you look at the solution on the right-hand side, the customer had to pick up little plates for laser engraving, but with the design, they wanted flexibility of not knowing exactly how many plates, the thickness of the plate to compensate. So once again, simplified motion series, being able to adjust the position by means of IO-Link, that's exactly what they got. They could adjust the height, they could adjust the stroke, and give the customer a machine that could accommodate various thickness of plates. So giving the customer that added benefit. Then looking at, some of the new benefits, you now get from the Q3 this year, you get a parallel kit. So if you, once again, more space constraint, you get parallel kits that's available from Q3. So once again, let's just recap. Control with 2 signals, one to extend, one to retract. You get signals out that simulate sensors, proximity sensors, once they're in those positions. And you need no laptop. All of the configuration is done on the keypad, on the actual controller itself. So no laptop required, no high levels of skill. And of course, by using IO-Link, you now get advanced features like midway positioning. So it's no longer just 2 positions. You can now have what they call an intermediate position. So for those of you that don't follow me on LinkedIn yet, follow me on LinkedIn. There is a video I shared there where we adjust the actual set position on the fly, and it's quite quick because of the IO-Link capability. So now you can have more than just the 2 positions. You can have an intermediate position, which is adjustable. It's only available on the IO-Link, but at the end of the day, that's where technology is going. Even your basic sensors are becoming IO-Link sensors for Industry 4.0. Then the last thing I wanted to bring to the table on Simplified Motion Series is the actual software to size this. So if you go to festo.com website /SMS, you get the SMS Designer Studio or the selection software. All you need is to know your actuator type. You want a cylinder, a belt drive. You need to know the stroke length. You also need to know the mass. So let's say we want to move a 1 kilo pack at 500 mil, that type of data. You use the sliders on the website. It will then give you the selected size, simplified motion series unit. You then click add to basket, and it'll give you the optional extras. So let's say you want a rod, clevis, etc. And you say order, simple installation. So now you've got a simple solution for simple applications. The ordering process is simple. And enough of this simple guy talking. I'm going to hand back to you on the DFPI.
Yeah, thank you. I must confess, Marcus, I played with the software last night because I was very intrigued, and it is really simplistic to use. I mean, that's the whole beauty of it. So it takes the mystery of electric automation, electric drives, and it provides you a simple solution, but a
guaranteed solution.
Yeah, and a guaranteed solution, exactly. All right. So the DFPI is Festo's proportional linear cylinder.
The
right?
pneumatic version.
Pneumatic version, all right. And it's been designed specifically with the mining and with harsh conditions in mind. In other words, it's been designed for very crude, rough conditions where you're exposed to environmental factors and chemicals and wind and rain and so forth. So you don't have to house it inside some pretty cabinet. It's designed to work outdoors. All right. It's been around the marketplace for a while, but I thought it's actually very relevant to discuss it again now because we've had lots of interest in this unit of recent. All right. So it comes in 2 forms. One is a unit that comes standard. So all units come standard with an integrated potentiometer. All right. And the second unit comes with optional position controller. In other words, inside the same housing is a pneumatic position controller itself. All right. So
you don't have to pipe on an additional.
Exactly. Not just that though, everything is now housed inside this protective housing, so it's kept away from the elements. So it really is versatile. If we take a look at the design, the potentiometer, as I said, is standard. It's inside the actual housing itself, and then to the rear end on the image, you can see, for example, where the positioner is, and that's the optional part. But it is, and it conforms to the same DSPG ISO standard cylinder. So it's a very rugged, robust unit. So it took actually the DSPG and they re-engineered it to accommodate all these components. So by no ways is this level of sophistication compromised. In fact, you have the same durability and robustness of a product, but just with more control. So as I said, it's been designed for very harsh conditions in place, but also it's been designed with accuracy. Now, traditionally, if you want some sort of proportional linear control from pneumatics, you need a whole variety of components. So you need like this mechanical arrangement to connect to a rotary positioner, for example, and the shaft, the cylinder. And you can see this on the left-hand side of the screen right now. That's a typical application where they combine all these mechanical components, right, which are exposed to all these harsh conditions. And So the mechanical linkages then provide feedback now to the pneumatic positioner.
Is that the same as what you normally see when they do these whiskey things that rattle and clink because they're worn all over the place?
Yeah, pretty much like that. You find this system actually in the mines for dart valve control. And it's sort of become an industry norm over the last couple of years. And actually, we're having great success in retrofitting our units to these because the control we get from ours is far, far better. You can imagine, Marcus, if you're exposed to all these environmental conditions, the mechanical linkages become worn and sort of vibration settles in and starts making things sort of move out of alignment. So you're always recalibrating things and trying to tweak things and tune things, right? And then, of course, in the plant environment, people step on things, people break things, people knock things by mistake. So it is a real nightmare. And think of, if you want proper control, you need to calibrate the whole time. And even in that process, so besides all the linkages you require, it's very time consuming. Yeah. So all that is now thrown out the window because all the feedback that you require is now electric or electronic, and it's inside the actual housing itself.
So if you've got better control, you've got better output.
Well, if you think about it, if you're trying to control something and it's like a precious metal, like in the case of the mines, you have them better recovery or better yield as well. So it's not just better control leading to what? To economics, to financials. You actually see the benefit in your pocket because you have better product and better yield.
Awesome.
All right, let's move through the next slide. So here's some more applications. I did mention the mining applications, but it's found everywhere. So on the left-hand side, you can see a typical application prior to the first installation, right? Looks like it's a pinch valve. And then you can see fittings, tubing, mechanical mechanisms. It actually looks a bit of a mess. And then that's
grief for that.
And then the post installation is one single device with a tube. And inside that tube, which is a flexible hose from Festo, also IP67 rated, is the air supply and the signal. So it's all you require. Air supply and signal, and you're done.
So this is really simplified installation.
So a complex solution, well, seemingly complex solution, but actually it's a very simple solution with far superior control. And let's try and click through again. And in terms of accessories, because it belongs to the, let's go back a slide. Sorry, Marcus, I'm betting to navigate on your PC here. Because we have it as part of the DSPG range, in other words, all the accessories that are available for the DSPG are available for this. So take a look here, Marcus. You have a whole assortment of front rod clevises, mounting attachments. You have all the sensor control, everything you could possibly think of. And unlike the DFPC, where you're limited to horizontal and vertical applications, and of course the actual rod is guided, this can take the side load because it has that leg push. And as I already mentioned to you now, this black tube, this conduit, houses all the electrical cables and pneumatic cables inside there, or tubes inside there. So everything is kept away from the harsh environments.
And then you get that standard from us. You don't have to now filter your own cable through there.
Precisely. And I have seen this in real robust applications. The whole entire unit has been covered with material, dirt, slurry, and there's been no penetration of this and environmental conditions into the tubing and the position itself. So it really is meant for these rough applications. But you don't necessarily have to always mount the positioner or have a unit with a positioner inside. You can choose to also have it outside. So we have a bracket system that allows you to mount a Festo positioner, but for that matter, you can mount a Siemens, an ABB, a Samson, whatever you choose to use, you can actually mount it outside of the bracket. So you can put the brackets, you can attach it to the cylinder itself, the profile, or of course you can choose to mount the positioner in a cabinet somewhere. So the options there, so very flexible. So if you think about it, you can have an integrated positioner, you can have the positioner externally mounted but onto the actual actuator itself, or you can have that cable up to 50 meters long and mounted in some panel if you want to.
Very interesting.
So as I mentioned to you, is really a product that's sort of very good for all industries, so chemical, energy, mining, and water, wastewater. So from louver applications through the way to pinch valves, dart valve control, turbine adjustments, anything that needs to be proportionally linear controlled, this is a device to use in the industry. And we have some great success stories. I mean, these are from live applications. So a burner control typically found in steel plants, to furnace control dampers, all controlled by the DFPI.
Looks like you were traveling the country taking nice photos of all of these applications.
No, my job's fantastic, man. All right, fertilizer production, mineral processing, as I said, really has a multitude of applications. And this traditionally was really a difficulty in the marketplace. Water, wastewater, pulp and paper, and once again, the mining applications. That's a float cell on the right-hand side, Marcus.
So there we can say that we've actually put it in there. It's not a catalog. It's actually, we've put it in there. It's working. We've got the yield. It's done. It's dusted. It's proven.
It's a proven product, and it's proven both internationally and locally. So we have some fantastic local stories both in South Africa and Africa. So we really have full confidence behind the solution.
Awesome. What's a fail-safe?
Right, good question. Thank you, Marcus. So traditionally, when it comes to pneumatic control, and people wanted to fail if there's an air failure, fail to extend or fail to retract. In other words, they wanted to mechanically fail.
Oh, it's not if it's going to fail. So
it's not going to fail. Of course, it's not going to fail. It's a faster product, Marcus.
Or as much.
You put a spring back either in the front and the back end. So you'd imagine, for example, if air falls away, the cylinder either extends or retracts, as you wish. But in Europe, and I think a growing thought trend in South Africa too is that spring packs, mechanical spring packs are rather dangerous because if you open the thing up, of course, the springs at a high force. And also, exactly. And there actually have been some very nasty incidences too in the country itself. So it actually isn't a joke. So what we do in our case, we add an air receiver plus a pneumatic circuit.
Okay.
So you can imagine, for example, if air fails, you have this receiver called an air battery.
Okay.
And that will then, of course, cause it to extend or retract and actually perhaps give you multiple cycles that you wish to manually override if necessary.
So the same as what we would do with the UPS on the electric side.
Precisely the same concept.
Thank you.
Okay. Marcus, so I believe it's your turn now.
I think so. Let me wow the guys with the CPX-E. So if we look in all the industries, whether we're looking at food and bev industry, food and pack, the automotive industry, even the mining industry, PLC is control, and that's what we need. So the CPX-E modular PLC is not just a PLC, it's a motion controller as well, and also has the benefit or the added option where you could create your own remote I/O panel. So the CPX-API is IP65 remote I/O for mounting on the side of the machine. With the CPX-E, you could create an I/O bank, put it into a panel, and wire everything into that. So Festo even gives you both options.
But this isn't the only PLC we have, right?
Nope, it's not the only PLC. We've got a wide range of PLCs integrated with the valve terminal, standalone brick. So it really does depend on what you want.
But then why this one?
This one is modular. It is high performance. This competes for the top range. If you look at Siemens S1515, we compete there. It's a modular system where you can put on up to 16 slots. Standard, we do 10, but if you request it, we can go up to 16 slots. So you can configure standard digital inputs, analogs, I/O link, and you can, of course, do motion control. That's where the real power comes in.
So Festo really is playing amongst the big boys now. Eh?
We're not just playing there. We're seriously packing a punch. I think, specifically in South Africa, we've seen the growth on our servo drives, which I'll touch base later, as well as these PLCs of about 140 to 150% growth year on year on our PLCs.
That's phenomenal.
Once the guys start using our PLCs, their price performance is brilliant. The performance that they can do with the motion is actually amazing. And they also are slaves. So let's say you've got a plant where you've got 20 or 30 machines with different PLCs, all reporting into a main PLC that does the SCADA control. Our CPX-E can either be a Profinet or an Ethernet IP slave immediately. So you don't need to create additional communication gateways. All of that's done with standard technology.
So you don't break away from the company's standards in terms of Ethernet protocol?
No.
All right, fantastic.
So as Russell was traveling around the country looking at photos of his installation, I just had to go and have a look at some of our customers. And yeah, I've got just 3 panels that we did recently. On the left-hand side, you'll see our compact, our CV version, which I'll tell you a little bit more about now. And you'll see that it's got our CMMT servo drive in the picture on the left. The center picture is one of our systems integrators that updated one of our PLCs that was in the plant for 14 years without a hassle, but they then upgraded the whole machine and decided to put the latest technology PLC.
That's impressive.
So of course our PLCs have run through and have proven themselves in the industry. There's so many benefits of running these types of PLCs. So with that being said, if we look at our complete architecture, we have a look that we have an EtherCAT master on these PLCs with an Ethernet for the HMI and of course vision systems. Festo has their own vision systems, and the EtherCAT master, which we can then connect to either our own servo drives or extra low voltage servo drives or third-party equipment. And I'll show you that a little bit later as well.
I'm also led to believe that EtherCAT's particularly fast, right?
It is by far the fastest and most stable communication protocol, in my opinion, out there. And it's also the easiest. You know, when you have 30, 40 modules on you, right-click scan, and everything is there, you've got your network configured in minutes. You know, I've challenged our application engineers to prove to me that within 5 clicks in the Festo automation suite, you can have everything set up, and it is 5 clicks and everything is set up.
That's amazing.
So you can see that on the left-hand side with Ethernet IP or the Profinet slave advice, and of course the OPC UA is already on board on these.
As standard.
As standard. It's not an optional extra. And the nice thing is there's no software costs, no license costs, no any update costs when it comes to any of our equipment.
So you purchase a Festo PLC. You don't require any software costs, license costs. The software comes free of charge.
Go onto our website, go to the support portal, download Festo provided by Codesys, the latest. All the function blocks are there. The only thing that you might need to pay is if we have to bring in third-party function blocks, but that would be with any Codesys provider.
Sure, I must know that some of the software providers out there charge your arm and a leg for some software.
You know, some of the guys are charging anything between 70 and 90,000 per year to update costs. So how many PLCs can you buy with that? So if we look at the 2 basic units, we have a C version, which is the one on the left-hand side, which is our compact. There it doesn't have the slave device. All it is an EtherCAT master and has an Ethernet port to communicate to the HMIs. A little bit lower in the processing power, but it can still run 8-axis interpolated. So not just normal point-to-point, interpolated 8-axis. If we look at the unit on the right-hand side, that's the big boy. There you can have the optional extras of having an SD card. You can have the USB interface to download reports, and you can add in a little HMI for little diagnostic axes. But now, with a motion control drive on that, you can go up to 16 axes.
Wow.
So dual core 666 megahertz processor really packs a punch. Really cost to power ratio is of essence there. So on that, you get 2 versions. You get a C and an M. So C is standard, that's the normal PLC control, and the M is the motion. So if you want to do motion control, you take the M1 version. Once again, no additional licenses, no additional costs. So I did say in the beginning, you can create your own remote I/O terminal or remote I/O bank. So you can do that with Profibus, Profinet, Ethernet IP, and of course EtherCAT.
So it's not just a PLC.
No, you can create a separate standalone where there isn't a PLC functionality. It's just a communication module, and you can create an I/O bank.
Okay,
so
you said Profinet, help me out here, Profinet?
Profinet, Profibus,
yeah.
Ethernet IP, and EtherCAT.
Wow, okay.
All right, then a quick overview of what the inputs are. This is where I saw the numeric, and I didn't understand why, but you did explain that, thanks. So standard input, 16 digital in, 8 digital out, as well as the NEMU NE21. So it's in accordance with higher current rating or to rate for the NEMU valves out there. On the analog side and the IO link, we've got analog in, 4 analog in, and 4 analog out. The nice thing about our analogs is they're both current and voltage, so you don't have to have 2 different. It's configurable. You can either have 4 to 20 or 0 to 10, all in the same. So you can have a 4 analog out, and you can have 2 current and 2 analog. You can have 3. You can adjust it as you wish, reducing stock holding again for the customers.
Just talking about PA now, I know that recently they launched the PA toolkit.
That's correct.
So there's a set of function blocks written specifically for PA applications.
That's correct.
Wow.
So the PA toolkit comes with the HMIs. It's the visualization and the Codesys package that is the industry standard out there. They're still developing that, and look out for the webinar specifically on that, because that's an interesting topic. I think we can do a webinar on just that.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Then the IO-Link cards, of course, 4 IO-Link masters, and then the encoder card. One of the benefits of these is, again, space saving. So you look at about a 30% width reduction in these. So if you compare it to, for instance, a Siemens, we're about 20 to 30% smaller in size for the same amount of IO.
I'll just tell you now, with the cost of panels these days, every bit of saving you can make is a saving you can use.
Exactly. Panel cost, if you can make the panel smaller, you save cost. So you can either have a complete system from Festo where you look at the PLC, the HMI, the IO-Link, the valve terminals, and third-party equipment like the PA equipment, your process, your positioners, your feedback, all of that. You can actually run this as an intermediate, as we said, with a slave, where the main PLC does control, and you do perhaps IO-Link control down in the field. One of the nice parts about the installation is the bridging capability. So you don't need to run 24 to each module. You can just jump and daisy chain. It does give you nice flexible ports. So it's easy. You've got an in and an out port chain your 24 volt. Once again, just making installation cheaper or easier. I shouldn't use the word cheap. Nothing's cheap nowadays. And when we look at time, time is expensive and we want to reduce time. Talking about time, if you look at this PLC, because of the C bus running at the back and having synchronized clocks, we can have a scan rate down to 2 milliseconds on these PLCs.
That's amazing.
So quite a nice, powerful little PLC, modular, and it caters for all of your needs.
I can see me using that component in my process industry.
Definitely. Would you be able to use that PLC in perhaps your DFPD?
Well, it certainly can control the DFPD. Let's do it right now. So Vestas' range of quarter-turn actuators is growing, and I'm going to touch quickly on what we have in place. And we have it in place for a bit now, the DFPD, and the extensions to the range is very exciting to talk about today, Marcus. So let's climb into it. So if you take a look at the current DFPD range, it comes in single acting and double acting versions. On the left-hand side, we have a spring pack. So you can actually change the spring configuration to suit the application itself. So for example, if you've got a 3-bar supply air pressure instrument air, you can then change the spring pack to accommodate that, or then take it up to 6-bar for the matter, all right? So it's single acting, double acting. It also can, I know it's called a quarter-turn actuator, but actually can do more than that. Actually do 180 degrees. So for example, if you've got a multi-turn valve, or multi-port valve, I should rather say, this same series, the body's slightly longer, right? But the same, and the rack, of course, inside is longer, but the same concept, the same actuator can be used for multi-port applications as well. It also comes, and it's once again, sort of very much aligned to the chemical industry and to the mining industry and to very harsh environments. We have an epoxy coated version as well, the EP version. So the entire unit itself has got an epoxy coating, and then the drive mechanism, the shaft, right, top and bottom, also stainless steel. So it's also a shortcoming. A lot of competitors in the marketplace, Marcus, that they're connected to process valves and there's spillage and of course environmental factors, and the actual drive mechanism rusts or corrodes, even though the epoxy coating is fine. So that's one thing if Vestas has a standard. Of course, it conforms to all the Namur standards. It has 2 adjustment bolts. You can adjust your end positions. So it's pretty good when you have, of course, hoping or wanting to, of course, regulate or even just adjust the shut-off of a butterfly valve. So you can adjust your end positions there. What else can I think about? It's a compact design in general. So if you compare it to some of the players in the marketplace, it's a nice compact design. You can configure it online, once again, like the rest of our products. So you can choose whatever you want on the online configuration, but there also are standards around there as well, so standard versions. You also can choose to have it as open right, open left, in other words, clockwise, anti-clockwise. These are all variants that are available to the range itself. Now, the exciting part is that we have released up until size 2,300, so from 10 Newton meter to 2,300 Newton meter. But in the next short while, we're releasing the 3,000, the 5,000, and the 8,000 Newton meters as well. But what has been released now is the heavy-duty version. So 9,000, 18,000, and 32,000 Newton meter.
A little bit more powerful than that Ford of yours, eh?
Just slightly. Certainly a lot more powerful than the Toyota of yours.
Is it as reliable as the Toyota?
It's more reliable than your Toyota.
Okay.
All right. We also have released the marketplace now the DFPD C, C standing for chemical.
Oh,
right. Sometimes
not for corrosion.
Not for corrosion, not for Corolla either. Now, the DFPD C is also, we'll talk in detail about this just now, but it really is an exciting product that we just released. Let's just shift to the next slide. Whoops, and I've gone too far again. Marcus, you must help me out.
You're too excited about this.
I know, I've got finger troubles, yeah. Okay, there we are. All right, so it's been designed specifically for the chemical industry. So it has a couple of things that the current range doesn't have. The end caps are hard anodized, right? The spring back that I spoke about just now comes with stainless steel inserts. So in other words, it's not susceptible to the corrosion and to the outside conditions. So when people always think that a pneumatic device works in isolation, but of course it draws in the atmosphere when it cycles. And that atmosphere contains chemical compounds.
If you can smell it, it's in the air.
Exactly. And often if you open up an actuator, you'll sort of see the corrosion and the rusted spring sets inside. So we have now a standard in the C version, stainless steel spring sets. Plus it has a shaft centering ring for easy mounting to process valves, just once again a request in the marketplace, and blowout proof screws. So this range looks very similar to the DFPD range itself. It is very similar, but it has those few modifications that make it unique to the industry itself. And I'm also excited to say that they have brought one more innovation out, and that is now the same unit with the 3847 interface. Now, 3845 is standard across all the ranges, but 3847 is a special interface to allow it to mount components to the unit. So as opposed to piping up a pneumatic positioner.
That spider's nest we saw earlier.
Exactly, and more so. You can now mount those components with a series of manifold components to each other, saving you lots of time and effort. So I'm quite excited to talk about it just now. So as I said earlier on, Marcus, we have a special manifold block assembly for it. That's the first unit. You can see the screen in the moment. And to that, you can attach, for example, the positioner. And then from that, you can attach regulators, shutter valves, and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Okay, so directly mounted, not
directly mounted, no piping required whatsoever. So this is really something truly unique in the marketplace. And then moving on to, or carrying on to the topic of additions to the market itself, we have what we call now the heavy duty range. As I said, this uses, it's also meant for larger torques. And yeah, we actually use the Scotch yoke mechanism or principle for creating the torque itself, right? It's available in single acting and double acting versions, and it has a manual override version as well. Okay, so this is now available to the marketplace. I mean, this is really large units for very large high torque applications.
So it's not just these small valves. These are meant for big valves. These big industrial
valves. No, they are meant for large, massive valves. Exactly.
So water industry, very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. If you take a look at some of the specifications, as I said, 9,000, 18,000, and 32,000 Newton meters, and take a look at those flange mountings, F25, F30, F35. That's really large. Okay. So Fiesta does the entire range now, I believe. Now, something else which I'm very excited to talk about is a CMSH. It's Fiesto's pneumatic positioner, but a new version. We've had
a new one, not that other white. What was that? The CMSX.
The CMSX. So this is the newest release to our range, and it really has some very, very clever features to it. So
why a new one? The same as with the remote I/O. Why a new position?
So the first CMSX that was brought to the marketplace has really done phenomenally well, and we've installed in some big places like the Sasa, for example. So it's proved its reliability, but it has limited and simplistic diagnostics and sort of features. It also is a 4-wire system.
Right. This is where this 4-wire, 2-wire scenario comes in.
This unit is a loop-powered Hart 4020 protocol.
Okay, and that's what the market wanted.
That's what the market's looking for. So obviously Fiesta has been listening keenly to the marketplace and saying, listen, I know we're happy, or you're happy with what we have given you, but you want a 2-wire system, this is it. All right. And it can be used, and obviously what they have done is they've taken the key learnings from development of the CMSX and put it into the CMSH. So the same units can be used for quarter-turn units, linear actuation, as well as, for example, diaphragm actuators. So it is a singular product with a multitude of applications. And you don't have to go and change the unit out to accommodate it.
So one can do many, so it reduces the amount of stock you need to keep.
Exactly, and the cost, of course. We take a look at some of the features here. We just compare it to the CMSX. So CMSX, as I said, is a 4-wire system, it's a 2-wire system. This is a 4-20, 2-wire with Hart. But take a look at things like this here. The CMSX was limited from -5 to 60 degrees Celsius. This is -40.
I don't want to go work in that environment, I'll be honest. That's where the PA guys can go.
We've got a large market in Russia in some very cold areas, and of course this is where it's sort of used. So that's why we have gone down so low.
Sure.
Look, I believe they're doing lots of vodka to keep warm at some markets. It's actually not that bad.
We don't have any vodka.
No, just water, I'm afraid. All right. And as I said, the CMSX was for basic the diagnostics and monitoring, whereas of course you have a far more advanced setup for the CMSH itself. All right. But let's go and take a look at some of these features now. So as I said, loop-powered 4-20, communication is Hart currently, but there are plans to take it to other protocols as well. It also comes with EX certification as well. It comes standard with functional safety SIL 2, which is also something unique to the product range. Exactly. As I said, a very extreme temperature range, -40 to 80 degrees Celsius. 1 unit suitable for both linear actuation and rotary actuation, so you don't need to go and get different units for that, right? And it has a whole bunch of optional sensor options to fall in place. And also from 1 unit, fail safe, fail to open, fail to close, or fail in position. Once again, you don't need to go to or purchase a different unit. So you can really consolidate stock here. So the secret behind how we can create this sort of modularity of functionality or limited stock is because we have these end plates which fit onto the sides of the actual position itself. And that provides you a single acting or double acting version.
Okay.
All right. But so you can actually purchase it pre-configured from Vesta as a single acting, if for example it's all you use in your factory, or as a double acting. Or you can choose one that can accommodate both. But you can actually strip the units down and then change it out if necessary as well.
Okay.
So in your stores or in your facility, Marcus, you could have one CMSH unit for double and single acting and have multiple plates. And as your application changes, then set it up accordingly.
Very interesting philosophy.
We take a look at some of the unique features here. So as I said, this system is, first of all, high capacity. So in the previous ranges, we had a high flow and a low flow. This is now, from the start, a high flow, high demand unit. Also, again, if I take a look at the opposition in the marketplace, they are limited. This is up to 400 liters per minute and 300 liters per minute for the double acting versions itself. So really is competitive for large actuators. So those big, large actuators I showed you early on, right? It's the heavy duty versions.
They suck, yeah.
Exactly. All right, and then, but it doesn't then, of course, compromise on your accuracy. As I said, it has both fail-safe or fail in position applications. And the other thing which Vesta learned from its previous unit, and we were commended on the whole time, was the fact that it could take in dirty air. You say suck in air, but suck in dirty air we could quite comfortably do.
Okay.
So this unit is, I won't say impervious, but certainly one of the complaints from the marketplace from a lot of opposition is the fact that units fail prematurely because they don't handle dirty air environments. This can.
And we know in Africa, we clean our air well.
Hey? Yeah, we clean our water well.
Yes, there's more water in those systems.
All right, as I said to you, this unit is modular, so you can actually get additional IO modules for it. So you can get a binary or binary inputs and outputs for it, additional 40/20 feedback if you wanted to. There are different limit switch attachments, so you can get inductor sensors or mechanical sensor limit switches, so you can choose whatever your preference might be. And that functional safety unit is also an additional option, right? You just pull into the system itself to configure it. As I said, it has integrated self-monitoring and diagnostics. So from a breakaway pressure, so inside the unit, it comes with pressure sensors and other sensors itself. So breakaway pressure, air leakage, you can do a partial stroke test. You can do things like real-time monitoring of positions, temperature and pressure, counter for movements. So all that feedback is once again available for you. I'm just thinking about your remote IO now.
Okay.
You can take the PLC now. And this is information you want to get.
Yes, definitely.
Right. And of course, some of these things like breakaway pressure, air leakage can give indication when there's expecting a premature failure or something, right? And then the beauty of it, it has simplistic feedback. So all the information is coming through the LED screen, right? But it's not written in code. So you don't need a Greek alphabet or some sort of science degree to understand it.
Okay.
It's in simplified plain English. Initialization complete, not spelled out in some sort of Greek philosophy. So let's take a look at the SIL functionality of the unit itself. So often if you want redundancy or a SIL device, you need, of course, a PLC and a safety PLC. When you choose the configuration with SIL rating, it comes with an additional microcontroller inside, right? So then all you need to do is provide that the signal. So for example, you don't need to have an additional safety PLC, right? And you don't have to have additional shuttle valve to perform the functionality for you. Right. So once again, you can say, so you actually can take off the shutout valve, right, and the safety PLC in this application.
Sure, that saves. That must be saving quite a bit.
100%. I need to add that you can, of course, receive all this feedback to your PLC by the protocol, by the HART protocol, but you also can connect up with a HART dongle. So you can do parameterization on the screen itself, but it's also compatible with HART dongles. So you can plug it into your laptop and, of course, get advanced diagnostics and parameterization from the unit to your laptop itself. All right. So I'm really super excited about this. I think it's going to do particularly well in the marketplace, particularly with the way the CMX has proven itself already. And then growing on this topic itself, this is the VTOP. Right. This is the modular system I spoke about.
Is this the one without the pipes?
This is the one that save you lots of time, lots of headaches, and lots of costs. So in an installation that you might find at the chemical plant or mining plants, there is virtually always a filter regulator next to the positioner. Then there may be emergency shuttle valve. Then, for example, you may need additional pilot there because there's a large volume of air required to move the actuator. It's a large actuator. You might need an isolation valve. And all that now is integrated into this new Vesta system.
Okay.
Let me show you how. Let me show you how some of these systems look. So you can see two images there, Marcus.
I thought we looked at a spider's nest earlier.
That's actually neat in comparison, all right? But then we have a pressure switch, a positioner, a filter regulator, a pressure distributor, a displacement encoder. All of that now is on the outside peripherals, right? Now with our DFPI and a positioner, all of that can be incorporated. Okay, let's go and take a look at something else. Here's some more installations, right? And this is not atypical what you find with the likes of Cecil, right?
Yeah.
So all of that now can be replaced with the Festo V-top installation. So you can mount your position on the top end, and then to the right-hand side, you can mount a pressure regulator, a fail-safe unit, a volume booster, and so forth. So no need for additional complex pipe work. There's limited chance for leakages now.
I was about to say, less pipes, less leaks.
And not just that, I mean, just think of the time and effort required to bend all those pipes and put them in place and ensure there's no leakage.
And maintenance to try to take it out, put it back in.
Or if you want to change something.
Oh, yeah, just make an adjustment.
Exactly. So the beauty of this, it works for both the linear and rotary applications. All right, so take a look at the image now. We've got a simple configuration. So we've got on the left-hand side a quartered-in actuator with the first adapter plate. On top of that, you mount your positioner. Right. Thereafter, you've got a fail-safe unit. In other words, that's going to come to the PLC and say, now listen here, set the PLC and say, listen here, close down because we have a emergency event of some sorts, right? A volume booster, if it's a very large actuator, so you pipe into that additional air supply, right? Or, for example, if you want a fail-safe condition and a filter regulator. And the beauty is you can change the order of those units around as you wish. So you aren't limited, for example, saying first must be a fail-safe valve and then the pressure regulator. So you don't have to know, there's no specific order.
No sequence. Okay.
Exactly. And the same thing applies now for linear actuation. So once again, we had two images just now, both rotary and linear, and both have the same system in place, and both, of course, could be massive savings for the plant.
I think not just the savings, but the maintenance, the ease of maintenance, and that might pay itself.
Well, you spoke about time and cost saving. That's one of the points we highlighted here. Ease and safer maintenance installation. So you know that once the system's installed, there's not going to be no leakages. So there's no pipes flexing and so forth, and they're coming apart and causing leakages.
Less parts, less maintenance. Yeah.
Exactly. Flexible and function integration. So you can quite comfortably say, listen, I forgot I need a filter regulator, or actually it's not changed up, now we need to have a larger volume, or for example, I need a ESD valve, or they can be added seamlessly, right? And then, of course, high availability means that this is standard off-the-shelf parts. You don't need to go and bend pipes to meet up with your requirements. This is off-the-shelf from Vesta, boom, 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 done. And, of course, high reliability. You can imagine that with the flexing of pipe, the conditions outside, the environment, these pipes and the pipe connections are susceptible to leakages, right? Yeah, you can rely on the fact that this will be in place and there'll be no leakage whatsoever. So we think it's a fantastic offer, and I don't know of anything else like this in the marketplace itself. So I'm really excited about this.
I think the pipe guys don't like you.
I think that might be the case. The exciting part is, Marcus, this has been released for the C version, the DPD C version quartered-in actuator, but there are plans to release it for the generic quartered-in actuator, so they're making adapters for that as well. It also is released for the linear actuator, and there's also a remote unit plan too. So, for example, what you do is you mount this close to a device and just pipe two pipes into the actuator. So you imagine all the functionality remains in place. You don't need a complex pipe network. You just pipe two pipes from this device to the actual actuator itself. Awesome. Okay. So that's all coming, right?
Awesome. So I think, Russell, before we continue with my electric motion sizing, let's take a quick leg stretch. We just do a convenience break. Let's make it 5 minutes for those of you that's out there. So it's now 11:33. If we can be back, what's 5 minutes? 11:38.
Sounds perfect to me.
100%. So I'm going to be muting here, so Russell and myself can carry on talking and joking with one another. All right, so we're almost back. We'll give it a couple of seconds. We'll start again at 11:38. Russell, how's it going so far? Having fun this morning, eh?
Of course, with you, Marcus, always having fun.
Lovely.
Yeah. This water, I mean, vodka and water is lovely.
It's most called water, isn't it? Water.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys out there are seeing something new, seeing something interesting, and not just laughing at us missing buttons. But I did say in the beginning, we're experts in automation, we're not experts in webinars.
Hell no. Yeah, we will get there, Marcus. One of these days, yeah.
But the one thing that is quite relevant on this is the camera does add on extra pounds. I'm not always this fat. He is. So the camera on this side. All right, so let's kick it on a little bit further. It's 11:38. I think to change it up a little bit, you might have noticed that there's a trend from Festo coming in terms of making things simple. I don't want to sound like that bank saying simpler, better, faster, but that's basically what we're doing. So what we're doing is giving you products and focusing on the intangibles. So when you look at the electric automation, the process automation, it's not necessarily comparing products. It's not necessarily talking about the physical cost of a unit. It's the intangible cost. If we look at some of our tools, and I'm going to take you on one of our latest on the electric motion sizing. If you look at HGO, we do a complete gantry system, the configuration with energy chain, with brackets, with everything in under 5 minutes. Actually 4 minutes, we've got that complete system done. None of our competitors can do that. So look at the saving there. You've spent, we've had a couple of technical evenings here, and we've got a gantry system just outside of the camera view now. And I've asked the guys, how long would it take you to design this? And those were the key designers. They said, 4 weeks, 3 weeks. One guy said 2 months. And I said to him, I'll design this whole system for you in under 5 minutes. He laughed. We did show it to him that night, and it's complete. So that's where Festo is really going. So if we look at the actual tools, that's where I'm going to go with the electric motion sizing. We've made it a little bit more simple for our customers. So
are you going to ask me to help you parameterize now?
I might actually do. And then we're going to swap seats, and I'm going to give you control. I'll give you the mouse.
Fantastic.
But why the new tool? So if you look at our existing supply, in 2020, we had 97,000 combinations, or we were targeting to sell 97,000 axes. And in 2025, we're targeting on selling 320,000 axes. So an axis is a motor controller combination without the mechanical axis or without. So if we want to sell 320,000, speed is of the essence. And we look at our total amount of products, and we know we've got 32,000 line items within Festo. But when it comes to time, if you had to use the existing tool, Festo positioning drives, and you don't deselect the options, and you just go right through, it'll take 39 minutes for it to do the calculation. And to do a calculation, 39 minutes, who has that? I certainly don't. And that's where we start looking at old technology versus new technology. So the old, if you look at PC-based software, we used to post guys the CD, or they now download the software, install it onto their PC. They have to continue to run updates. I don't know about you, but if you look at your phone every morning, you've got 5-6 updates that you need to do.
But this is now web-based.
Exactly. It's now web-based, so there's no more updates. So you go into the Festo website, once again, free, no charges for these software. And I know all of our competitors out there that do a similar calculation. You have to buy that software for them, And why? Our thinking is you use our product, you use our parts, because it gives you a solution with everything added into your basket.
But isn't that concern when you close your software down or application down on your computer, then you lose the parameters, lose the settings?
Nothing. It stays there. So once you've configured everything, it stays in. That's the nice thing about this new.
So I'm assuming you can create a project of some sort to save it. Is it right?
That's correct. You can. You can export it. You can take it directly onto the online shop. You can do quite a bit of that. So with that, if you look at the easy sizing, there is 2 versions. The customer version, which is the easy version. If you put in your parameters, it spits out a solution. You add it to the basket. Then we have the electric sizing pro, which isn't officially released yet. We're running beta versions, but that'll be for Festo internal use. And the only reason for that is that's where we want to tweak things. So let's say we have an existing motor that we want to use and we want to re-engineer backwards. That's where we want to do. Or if we want to play with the thermal dynamics and that. Yes.
Assuming the simple version is relevant for most applications the customer encounter.
95%. Okay. So it's only when we really need, when we're pushing the limits and we want to play with jerk angles or doing flying saws and things like that, even though you can do a flying saw on the basic, it's when we really want to. And that's where the risk then sits with us and not with the customer. So the two tools at a glance, it's designed for our customers and designed for the application engineers. The customers might do a design like this once a week. You know, we want the customer to do a design like this once a day, order once a day, but they do it once a week, once a month, once every 6 months. Where we do it every day and we need more specialized tools to be able to play. You know, it's both online, so the updates, whenever you go online, it's the latest CMMT, EMMT controllers. If there's a tweak in the dynamics, they'll put it in there, so you don't have to update on a regular basis, and that's where it really benefits. So if you look at the easy or the default profile for the customers out there, you get only the new products. So it's the new CMMT and EMMTs. It is the CMMO and the EMMB controllers. And right at the top, the Pro portfolios, where we then have the old stuff. So if we've got a customer that still has, let's say, a certain range of motors in stock and he wants to use them, then we can play and pre-configure that.
Can he still then use the old software for that?
He can still use the old software, yes. So the positioning drives is still available. We might still do 1 or 2 updates, but then it will stay in the background.
But it won't take on the new products.
It won't take on the new products. That's it. All right. So once again, it's free. You know, there's no cost for this software. And
there must be a catch, Marcus.
Yes, the catch is it's so easy just to add it into the basket. Why would you want to spend 5 minutes calculating and then go to a competitor that doesn't offer you the same tools and guarantee? So that's the nice thing. If you do the sizing on this and you do the solution and it doesn't work, we'll take it back. Because if our calculation software has done it wrong, it's our fault. Okay, so
it hasn't happened as far as I know.
That hasn't happened. You know, I've often said I'll put my application engineers' heads on the block, and I still have them. So I believe it's working.
It's a damn pity that.
You've said it. All right, so the electric sizing and electric sizing pro, it will show you that there's a couple others. So there's Handling Guide online. There's the Festo online experience. You might have noticed our website's taken a change recently. It's all about these tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this screen. And then I'm going to open a website in the background. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Russell. So now, theoretically, we'll just hide that one. Put it over there.
So can I tell you what the parameters should be? You know, ask me.
I just want to see.
Let's stick to where it is there. And then I'll simply then.
I need to share screen. So bear with me while I'm trying to find the screen. Yep.
I see the video right now. Just bear with us, folks, please. You're almost there.
Screen 2. Unless you've hung there.
No.
So Kershaw, if you can let us know if you can see the website. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe it's because that thing is just close the camera.
I can see your presentation screen.
See the presentation screen.
This is where we'll start doing some panpipe music or humming in the background.
Yes, definitely.
What's your singing like, Marcus?
Really, really bad.
How's it? So it'll chase the audience away.
Definitely.
Kershaw, how's your
Mine
singing?
too, unfortunately.
Okay, because I'm sharing.
Yeah, we're almost getting there.
All right, so we should. Okay, there it is.
Fantastic.
Right. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Kershaw. It was a bit of a blonde moment. Yes, I do have blonde, cake, grey, or no hair. It's up to you.
So I can choose linear movements, rotary movements, or multi-axis movements. Is it right?
Yes.
So I must predefine that prior to the point.
That's it. So
Okay.
What is the application? So for today,
What I like to do, I like to move the case of beer from the left-hand side to the right-hand side.
from my side to your side,
Well, from
and then back to give me a
Exactly,
beer again.
exactly,
Okay. So
okay.
let's move a beer.
Okay, so that's a linear motion.
Linear movement. Let's
Okay.
go for it.
Will you click it for me?
No, you click it.
Am I clicking it?
Yeah, you click.
Fantastic.
Okay. So now
That's
we've got
simple. One click.
one click. Now
Okay.
we've got 2 positions. So select the 2 position because there's me and there's you. I'm A, you B.
Okay, right. Yeah,
All
makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
Okay, so how far are we apart? Move, social distancing.
Currently about a meter.
All right, let's make.
We'll get close again now, though. Okay.
All right, so make that a meter. So at the stroke distance, you can either drag it.
Yeah, like this. Yeah.
All right, or you can actually just highlight over there and type in.
All right. I like that. Okay.
Okay, so mass front end is if there's a gripper or a plate. So if you've got a gripper, we're not having a gripper, we're going to put the crate of beer on top of this thing.
Yeah, like
So-
a plate of some sorts.
That's it. Leave that at 1 kilo,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take it up. Take it to 5 kgs.
5 kgs.
All right.
Then you move your workpiece. So what does a cake be away? I never look at the weight. I look at the volume.
Well, what's the volume? It's 340 times. It depends how big the cage is.
Let's go quarts. Make it 10 kilos.
Okay. All right. 55 kgs, the big beer. That's okay. Can you enter 10 kgs?
Yeah, 10 kgs, 100%.
Right.
So then you can now add in if it was offset. So if it was offset for the guiding, but for
Let's
today's
pretend it's in the center.
It's in the center today.
Okay, good, yeah.
So how long? So it stays horizontal.
Yeah.
If you were lifting, you could change it.
Okay.
So how long is it going to take for me to get to you? So
How
we don't want to spill beer.
How thirsty are you and how thirsty am I? Let's say we're still finishing the first beer.
5 seconds.
5 seconds more than that.
Yeah, it take about 5 seconds to chug it. So you click
Okay.
in there. No, not there. Click over there.
Click there.
Yep. And I'm going to say 5 seconds, and I want exact. I don't want to mess around that it gets there in 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds exact.
So this means that if there are mechanical changes, environmental changes, it then compensates for that and always gives you the desired time. Is it right?
That's it, yes. So now, how long it takes from me to you? How long is it going to take you to take the beer out?
2.5 seconds, the very most.
Okay, so we're going to say 2.5 seconds. And then I want the beer back in the same time as you, so
Okay.
back to me 5 seconds.
Right.
And I'm going to be a lot quicker. I'm going to say, click on for me, how long it's going to wait here. I'm greedy, 1 second to get it out.
You are very thirsty.
I'm very thirsty.
Okay.
So scroll down,
Yeah.
say continue. All right. And let's see if we've got it done.
So in the background, in those split seconds, it calculated exactly what I required and spat out the example for me.
Yes.
Is the answer.
So it'll give you, at the start, it'll give you the most economical solution. So on the top, it's the most economic. You'll see that it is stepper. All right. So if you click on the little tab here that says show details.
Yeah.
All right, scroll down. There's the time, 13.5. So it took the 5 seconds to you, 5 seconds to me was 10.
Yeah.
2.5 for you to come out, that was 12.5.
Yeah.
And 1 second for me. 13.5 seconds on the dot.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Wow.
So if you then click on the motion profile, it will tell you everything. That's how the motion profile runs with all the X curves done.
And bill of materials, that's exactly what I require
That's
for
it.
this job.
Or you can just click there and say add to cart, and it's done. Today we're not going to add to cart, but what I want to do is, let's say the customer doesn't want stepper, he only wants servo.
Can you change it out?
So just untick the stepper there,
Yeah.
and it will give you a servo solution.
Fantastic.
Fine.
I guarantee you, anybody in the design department, no matter how competent it is, won't take a couple of milliseconds to produce that.
It'll take you longer to get the Excel sheet. Where did you remember inertia, P1, all of that done.
That's
So
really simplistic, eh? Very impressive.
that is it in the simplified
So did I pass the
electrical-
test, Marcus?
You did
Those are flying colors, eh? Thank you very much.
100%. It's nice to see that you're just as positive as me with this. So end of the sizing there for us. Let me just see. You can see that again. I'm going to hand back to you with some angle seat valves. You know how many guys I see angle seat valves out there that don't know we sold them?
Yeah, there's a lot they actually don't know about what we sell these days, Marcus. Okay, so the VZXA has actually been around for a while. In fact, we actually have sold angle seat, believe it or not, for many, many years. The VZXF was what we began with, and they brought out the VZXA, and they've been promising to increase the range of the VZXA, and that's not come through now. So I'm very excited to talk about this because there's some very nice developments in this space. As I said, we can cater for the VZXF, which is in the basic range, so it really is on-off applications and no control, right? And it has limited interfaces. Then the VZXA has been around for some time now, last 2-3 years, and it has been in an all stainless steel design, and sometimes possibly too pricey for some applications, or possibly too sophisticated for some applications. So we have now introduced a polymer actuator, as well as a brass body now too, to extend the range itself, and some different sizes and different mounting interfaces. I must just say though, that with Festo, we're also bringing some exciting future products out there as well. So there will be some advanced control units that will be coming out in the near future for the VZXA range, and I have seen some sneak previews of possibly some electric actuators too.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
So let's go and take a look at what we have to offer at the moment. So this currently is what the current VZXA looks like. So open up so we can see the rest of the points here, and we'll talk about them now. Changes up
One
to
more.
me. Just a second, and one more, believe it. There it is. Okay. So angle seat valves, generally speaking, provide you far more performance in terms of consistency of cycles and longer life cycles than a typical ball valve combination. So you're looking at 9 million switching cycles now.
Sure. Okay.
Right. Also, people often ask, when would I use a ball valve combination, or when, for example, would use an angle seat? Well, if you've got high temperatures as well. So high performance in terms of cycles, and of course, high temperatures and low temperatures. So from negative 30 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius. So great for cooling applications, and also fantastic for steam applications.
I was about to say steam at that temperature.
Perfect, yeah, exactly. And then the other unique feature about this unit is, and we'll take a look at the image just now, you can separate the body, the process of angle seat body, from the actuator itself.
So you don't have to take the whole thing out of the part just to replace the actual actuator.
And once again, most opposition, you have to do that. So if either the process of the angle seat itself is faulty, or the actual angle seat actuator is faulty, you have to remove it from the entire pipeline. So this, you can take one or all. Okay, right? And then it has some very nice features. For example, they guarantee no mixing of the liquid media inside the angle seat valve itself and the air inside the process inside the actuator. Okay. High flow rates. So if you compare it to the norm, to the benchmarks in the industry, we're up to 20% higher flow rates. So better flow through our design. The modularity I've spoken about already. So you can replace out units, and it's easy to clean in the current stainless steel guys. All right, but that's not where it ends. You mentioned just now, take it easy. Take a look at the image at the moment, right? You can actually remove the control, you can actually remove the actuator from the body remains in line, right? You can change out that valve mechanism, the cartridge itself.
Okay.
Right? So not the body, right? Or you can leave that intact if it's a problem, right? You can change the control head. Say, for example, you had a medium in the line, but it's now changed, or the pressure's gone up. You require more force from the actual actuator. You simply screw the old one out and put a new one in with a bigger force.
Okay.
Right? And you can actually remove the control head actuator from the control line itself, and it doesn't actually has like a non-stop, a non-return valve functionality. So up to 30 bar working pressure, medium pressure in the line itself. Remove the actuator out. Don't have to stop the process itself, but put the new one in place.
Sure. Okay. That's a big plus.
I think so. I already mentioned to you now that it also guarantees no mixing of the media itself and of course the air that comes from the actuator through a special chevron seal arrangement inside itself. So that's also another nice feature of the unit itself, right? And something else which is less commonly known, and as I said, this has been around for a couple of years now, so it's not like it's a newcomer to the marketplace, right? It's just the range has been extended, is, and this is really growing popularity. With this splittable valve and actuator body, you can put the actual valve itself into a manifold. So you can create a purpose-made manifold for an application. So say, for example, you're in a tire plant, you want to mix different compounds together. And you so for mixing and for dosing applications, gases and steams and different media, you can actually run this through a purpose-made manifold, which you can design yourself or we can design for you, and simply you screw in the actual angle seat cartridge and of course the relevant actuator. So that's really a neat function of this. Because you can split the two units, that's possible.
So I can create my own mixology tank where I can
100%.
brandy, whiskey.
You can add a springbuck, a shooter, a beer, and a brandy all together there.
And it's not going to contaminate it.
And I won't contaminate it either.
Thank you.
All right. And the exciting news now is in phase 3, we have now gone from just the threaded version. So from 1/2 inch to 2.5 inch, we now have clamp versions as well, tri-clamp technology, as well as weld ends. So Vesta has extended the range in the stainless steel range as well.
So whatever the customer wants you to.
Exactly. All right. So that's new to the marketplace. Now, further to that, we have, I just need to point out that this unit can be used for vacuum as well. All right. Also, again, not very common amongst all angle seat valves, but ours does work with vacuum too. All right. We take a look at the recent accessories. So what we didn't have is feedback other than optical feedback. So now we have an inductive sensor feedback. So what you do, you take off the visual indicator and you screw in the Vesta inductive sensor or any inductive sensor for the matter, and that can give you one precision sensing. You also can bolt to the top end. You can place on a cap with 2 Vesta sensors. So you can actually get sensing back end and front end. You also now get a VOFX, a solenoid valve that bolts the banjo into the unit itself. So you actually have direct actuation, almost like the Nomura interface, right, on the actual actuator itself. So if you chose to have an actuator, or sorry, a solenoid valve on the actuator, that's possible now. Plus mechanical stroke limitation, plus an adjustable shock absorber too. Okay. So those are all new features, Marcus. That's how the inductor sensor looks. So you take off the visual indicator, you screw the inductor sensor, and there's, of course, your one position indication. And then this is now the banjo bolt configuration for the valve, right? So very neat configuration for Vesta. I need to say also very cost effective. Okay. So a lot of companies sell you a control head, which is exceptionally pricey. This is, well, this is a lot more affordable. All right, and talking about affordable, with the Festo's polymer actuator and the brass body now, we really have dipped into the very affordable price range for angle seat valves. So if you take a look at the comparison, it still retains the same modularity. So for example, the functional ability to remove the actuator from the actual body itself still remains there. But of course, because the materials and the composition of thereof, it's very price effective. However, Vesta has gone straight off the bat and used eco brass itself in the design, which means there's no lead content. Okay, interesting. Okay, right. It's hot forged and not casted, which of course means there's no cavities and pores. And once again, a whole bunch of competitors use hot forging, right? It is very, so that of course results in a smooth interface. It still can do a fairly high temperature, 180 degrees Celsius. However, there's no ATEX certification, but it's available in the stainless steel version, right? There's slightly lower CV values, flow values or characteristics in the stainless steel version because of the casting. And there's no extra seal cartridges available. However, it is super affordable. We take a look at the two units. So it is, that's the top unit is the piston actuator. Yeah. With the indicator on the top end, right? And the below is the VZXA. It's the VZXA, I should rather say, the brass valve. You can see that is from -10 to 180 degrees Celsius with PTFE seating, which is a standard industry. And it comes in 1/2 inch to 1 1/4. Awesome. Right. So I'm quite excited about this range. I already believe it's what we're looking for without compromising quality. Yes. We have a price attractive offering now too. Awesome.
Yeah, I believe, you know, a lot of the people out there still believe Vesta is just a pneumatic company. I think from what we've showed them today, we do a lot more than just the blue parts and fittings. We do angle seat valves, we do PLCs, we do process valves, and it's just amazing that we do all of that in-house.
What's also interesting too is years and years ago back, there was a perception Vesta was expensive as well. But, but you and I both know that within the PLC range, within the mechanical axes, within the process equipment itself, from the angle seat valve to the DFPC, these products come at a very price attractive offerings.
Actually, you know, you say it so. I actually challenge the guys out there that if they still perceive or think that Vesta is expensive, give us a share. Really put us to the test, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Certainly.
Talking about pleasantly surprised, so if you look at the Vesta automation portfolio on the electric side, okay, we've got our Vesta automation suite with the CPX-E CC, which we've gone through. We've got the PLC and servo axes, the mechanical axes, and we have the actual servo drive and servo motor. So a complete motion package available from one supplier. What's nice about that is there's guarantees, there's things that mount. You know, you don't need specialized brackets to get your motors onto the axis, etc. It's all within one packet. So we're going to have a look at the CMMT extra low voltage servo and normal servo drives, as well as the single cable technology motor.
What do you mean by extra low voltage servo drives?
Russell, when we look at the voltage supplies available in South Africa, we have, you know, in the standard automation side, you have 525 volt, 380 volt, which is deemed to be high voltage for control. Then we have low voltage, which is 220 and 110 for control circuits and of course some servo drives. And then what we do with extra low voltage is when we look at 48 and 24 volts. So it's pretty much the old traditional stepper control voltages, 24 volts.
But isn't it just that? Stepper, why did you put a stepper motor controller there?
Because we've pimped it a little bit. So we've taken standard stepper motors and we've added encoders to the back of them. So now we've got servo characteristics without the high dynamic speeds, but also without the high package and high cost of what servo does.
So I'm assuming for low torque, low speed applications, low demanding applications, then the servo light, or the, what do you put it again?
Extra low voltage
Extra
servo.
low voltage servo would actually be perfect for it.
Almost, but it was high torque, low speed.
Wow, okay.
So if you're not looking for something high dynamic that's moving that case of beer from me to you in 5 milliseconds, like us 5 seconds, we've got a stepper solution, extra low voltage. So it depends on the application. If you want something that's controllable, that's cost effective, and that's suitable for the package, extra low voltage servo or stepper will do the trick. So what makes the CMMT range such a good drive? If we look at that, we can program our servo and stepper on the same platform. So the programmer out there doesn't have to have 2 different packages, one for stepper, one for servo.
So it's the same software package for both?
Same software package. The same function blocks within the PLC, and I'm touch base on that a little bit now. But so in essence, the programmer there is programming code to a function block that he's used to. And to the point where neither him nor the PLC will actually know anything different, whether it's a traditional, let's say, Siemens drive or the Festo drive. They won't even know the difference.
So a Siemens programmer would recognize the function block as being a typical function block he uses on a regular basis.
Exactly, and I'm going to show you that.
Okay.
All right, so same platform. Our CMMT can also run third-party motors. So on the stepper side, I'll show you a little bit later, and more often than not on the servo side. So if the encoder is compatible, we'll be able to run it. So let's say you've got a machine, the servo drive is packed up, but the motor's problematic, or shall I say the drive is blown, the motor's still fine, we can try and run it for you. We can do those tests here in the Experience Center to prove compatibility. So another thing is we can parameterize our drive directly from the PLC. So as long as your PLC supports file over bus, let's say the drive is blown 2 o'clock in the morning, put in a new drive, as long as it's been programmed to transfer their parameters, let's say on the HMI, press the download button, it will send the parameters back to the drive up and running. No need for a technician, no need for a laptop, back up and running. So our drives support file over Profinet and file over EtherCAT. Then, of course, stepper and servo can be used seamlessly in the same. So now why? We've got a smaller stepper drive, which I'll show you now. With a servo in one panel, we saved space, we saved the cost because they need accuracy, they need repeatability, but they don't need the high speed and high dynamics of servo, but you can use the 2 without sacrificing any performance. So on your screen, you'll see a photo of one of the panels we've recently done, where we've got our CPX-E motion controller, or PLC, doing some control. And you'll notice that on the side, there's EtherCAT load cells, there's EtherCAT VSDs, and then, of course, these CMMT servo drives. So you might see that it's nice and compact, right up against each other with integrated braking resistors in the back.
Don't you require space in between and a fan of some sorts there?
Not with these. So because the heatsink is in the back of the drive, it mounts directly onto the panel. It means you can have them a lot closer together and therefore save a lot of space in your panel.
Sure, that's very compact, eh?
So let's look at a couple of the highlights of the extra low voltage servo. So this little servo controller is up to 300 watt stepper control. So 48 volt, 300 watts. So quite a powerful little stepper controller out there, and it's tiny. It's not much bigger than a cell phone at this point in time. So if you look at this, you'll notice that we've got EtherCAT, Ethernet IP, Modbus, and Profinet, and the Festo automation suite. So all the dynamic point-to-point or interpolated function blocks are all the same for this extra low voltage servo as well as for the big boy, the full servo system.
So you can run EtherCAT, Ethernet IP, Modbus, and you said Profinets
Yes.
for the new units,
That's
both for stepper and for servo.
That's correct. So same topology, same function blocks, it just makes it a lot easier for the installation process. You might notice that we've moved all the motor mounting to the front of the drive to give the guys maintenance, easier access, easier for assembly, commissioning, and fault finding on these units. It's got a little HMI, a little CDSB screen that's on there, and exactly like yours, it gives readable code. It doesn't give a hexadecimal code that you have to go to the manual and go look for it. It says under voltage, low voltage, following error. You can also use that for serial machines. So you can download the parameters to many drives. And what's nice is you can actually, on that HMI, save a few different drives software.
So you can do it in 2 ways. You can parameterize on the drive itself. You can parameterize with the PLC itself.
Yes.
Right? with your laptop, and of course with this device too.
That's it. So
Wow.
if you've got the pre-developed program, take it and download it. So we've got an OEM that's got 3 different drives with 3 different parameter sets, each on one HMI, one little screen.
It's impressive.
So of course, this all brings in the single cable technology motor, and this is really a powerful motor. So from the low cogging torques, in other words, we can run that motor at a very, very slow speed without losing stability. So slow and smooth motion, and of course the single cable. So now we've got one cable, which means a simplified installation as well.
I know I look like a man with pipes and fittings, but I've actually used these motors in the mining industry, Marcus, and this one cable technology works like a bomb. It's a very robust screw thread,
Yes.
connection technology, and in the sort of harsh environments, it's perfect. So traditionally they used, I think, it's an encoder cable, if I'm mistaken.
That's it, yeah.
And then of course the power cable, the motor cable. Now it's combined. It's really fantastic.
Combined, and that also then gives you the IP67 state when it's got this cable plug on, and you can put an additional motor seal in the front to ensure that you've got that IP67 rating.
Nice.
So some of the benefits of running them together is, of course, there's a huge price advantage of running a servo and an extra low voltage servo in the same panel. You know, we look at the same behavior over the panel, same programming platform, all just to make it easier for our customers. So yeah, we've got a photo of one of our customers that have combined the servo and the extra low voltage servo. So you can see that's a massive amount of drives right next to each other in the same panel, saving a lot of space. So we like having a lot of servo drives sold, but when you tight for price, look at this extra low voltage stepper. You'll be very surprised at its performance. Now we've been talking about these function blocks. So in motion, we have point to point. We've been moving our case of beer from me to you, or if you want to do a gluing application, we do a bit of interpolated motion where we do arcs and bends. Both the stepper and the servo both have the same function block. So you can do gluing applications with stepper. So you can follow a predefined path with a stepper controller. So you don't need a servo. Showed you. It comes back down to the design. So sit with your application engineer, bring those applications, and let's see what we can.
I always thought that you're limited with the complexity of a design or motion, I should rather, the motion path with step mode, but that's saying a lot, Dan.
It does. As soon as you put that encoder on, you've got servo-like characteristics without that price tag. You know, if you're not wanting to glue this table in a millisecond, but you want to have consistency, repeatability, our stepper solution can do it.
Are you trying to sell Siemens now?
No, but Siemens is the biggest PLC supplier out there. So that's where Festo really is different. We don't care what PLC. We like it if you run a Festo PLC, but you can run Allen Bradley, Siemens, Rockwell, which is Allen Bradley, Omron, Beckhoff. All of our controllers are designed with the same function blocks. So for instance, in Siemens, if you go to a Siemens programmer and you say to him, which telegram do you want to send the parameters? You already hears telegrams. What are you talking about? So the same telegram 111 that they use from a Siemens to a Siemens controller, they can use from that PLC to ours.
Exactly. So same naming convention, same function block.
It looks the same. It pretty much is the same. Now, if you look at the Cinepos function block, the center speed that they use, it's exactly the same.
Do we write those function blocks for them pre?
Yeah. So from a Festo, we've predefined those function blocks that they look the same. So when you download it into your PLC, you just download the Festo version of it, and it's done. So on that third-party stepper motors, if you need an IP65 stepper motor, or you need one with an absolute encoder, or you've got a whole bunch of stepper motors and you want to use our controllers, give us a shot. We can most often run that. So if we look at the drive portfolio, from 50 watt all the way up to 6 kilowatt is what we've got in our portfolio in our armory now. We're going up to 12 kilowatt, and next year we'll have our 12 kilowatt launch. But even that being said, 85% of the applications that are currently being done in the factory automation space can be catered with this power range. So 85% of those applications out there we can do with our existing
6 kilowatt is substantial, Marcus.
That's a big boy. So yeah, if you've got any applications where you need a servo drive, you want to test or even play, give us a shot. Here in the Experience Center, we often do that. So over to you, and I see some PCRP, and then we almost 20 minutes.
Almost in the home stretch now.
Yeah, we're in the home stretch.
Okay, so Marcus, the PCRP also once again has been designed with a very aggressive, harsh environment in mind. So if you've seen plants in the past and if they're exposed to chemicals and corrosive materials and gases and, for example, wash down stuff, like you find in the chemical industry and the mining industry, these devices often get damaged by the environment and, of course, premature failures. So what you often find then in that case is people that mount them into panels. And, of course, a filter regulator in the panel makes no sense in terms of economy of scales. And, of course, it also takes the space. So Vesta said, listen, yeah, we need to create something which is going to be impervious to local conditions. So here you can see the panels where the filter regulator has been placed. And as I said, that's not making financial sense.
Yes.
So we brought up what they call the PCRP. It's a fully stainless steel regulator from top to bottom. So even the cartridge inside is made from stainless steel. We'll get to it shortly. Okay, let's just take a look at some of the key features right now. So in MPT thread or G thread, quarter inch or half inch, as I said, the housing from top to bottom is stainless steel.
Yes.
Right, 316L. From -20, once again, to low temperatures, to high temperature, 8 degrees Celsius, or from -60. That's even colder than -40 we spoke about earlier on, right?
These Russians.
To 8 degrees Celsius. Filter cartridges from 5 microns to 40 microns, a manual drain, and it conforms to lots and lots and lots of explosive-proof environments, as well. So you have all the certifications required. Okay, so it is really an all-rounder. I won't go into that about the technical design itself. I want to point out here, though, is that we have this barb fitting at the bottom end, which means you don't require a clamp or hose clamp to put it over and connect it. If you want to take the condensate down to a bottom point somewhere, join the point, we have a barb fitting. So you take a 6mm tubing, you obviously crimp it over, and it's done.
Okay.
All right. And as I said, all the accessories also stainless steel. So, and also all available from Vesta. So from the gauge to the bracket to mount it, to even the insert, the filter cartridge itself. Normally have the sinter bronze filter cartridge. Once again, stainless steel. All right. So really, I think a neat product at a very affordable price. Okay.
Awesome.
How was that for quick?
That was quick.
Okay. Now you've had a chance now to show me how your online configurators work.
All right.
All right. And I like to do the same. So could I ask you to drive the machine and I can talk you through it?
I'm going to try, but just don't laugh at me.
I know I won't.
So let's share screen 1.
Okay. So Marcus, and for audience out there, this you should be aware of already, but if not, you have to get onto a website to take a look at it.
Okay.
We have 3 configurators, right? A butterfly valve configurator, a ball valve configurator, and an actuator configurator. And I say configurators, I mean saying if, for example, you require a butterfly valve with actuator, with adapters, with an Amura valve, with a switch box, you can do that online.
All right.
And like you said in the past, very often you forget about it, or you forget the adapter, or you forget the right mounting bracket. So you know the components to make the assembly come incomplete to your stores or to your facility. This makes sure that in a couple of clicks you do it right.
Awesome.
Okay. So I've asked you to choose the butterfly valve configurator online already, right? But we have the ball valve and we have the actual actuator itself. Okay. So if you don't mind, click on the configure product button there, Marcus.
That big blue button.
That big blue button. And I'm assuming the audience can see our screen right now.
Yes, no, they can.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So the first question I'd ask you says the actuation. What do you want it to be, manual or automatic?
I want automatic.
Okay. I also like automatic, but I just want to point out that if you chose to have a manual valve, you can configure it here too.
Awesome.
Okay. So let's choose automatic.
Automatic it is.
Now it says then, what does it say next? Application.
Yeah.
Open or closed or controlled?
Controlled.
Okay. Just for, I think for audience sake, to control means that you have a pneumatic positioner controlling it.
Okay.
Open and close is a pilot valve which is opening and closing the actuator. So right, this is for precise control, dosing applications, for example. Okay. Okay, now we've actually finished the first stage already. Let's go to the next tab. It says valves and media.
Valves and medium.
Okay.
Okay.
Now flange style is important to understand. What type of valve? Is it a wafer type or lug type?
All right.
If you were asking questions about what is a wafer and what's a lug type, you could press on the I button just above it.
Okay.
Right. And then it describes to you what a wafer and a lug type is. So even if you're not familiar with the typical language in the process automation industry, it then describes to you what the 2 options are. So let's choose a wafer type.
Awesome.
All right. And then what connection standard do you require? Is it a ASME standard, American standard, or is it a DIN standard? In South Africa, we know most of it is DIN standard.
DIN standard, yes.
Let's choose that. Now, what is the nominal pressure? In other words, what is the pressure rating of the process valve? Now, in South Africa, generally speaking, the guys like a PN16, but you could choose PN10, but let's stick to PN16.
16.
Okay. What is the media pressure? Is it
So the medium is the pipe that's controlling, it's not the supply of the valve.
okay? So the valve can be designed for a maximum burst pressure.
Okay.
So it's safe to use it under pressures. But the media pressure is of course the media inside the process valve, and that also defines the type of torque you require too.
Yes.
So is it under 10 bar? Is it above 10 bar?
So let's go 10.
Okay, cool. Then the valve diameter, what size pipeline is it? Let's choose, for example, say 50 mils.
50 mils.
Small butterfly valve. It's saying to us, it doesn't like something here, Marcus. It doesn't like, oh,
And remove the minimum, the medium.
6 to 10 bar. So it actually does auto corrections in the background to if you do make a mistake. All right, so just press OK.
I did that on purpose.
Of course you did. All right, and then the disc material. We have 3 options available right now: stainless steel, one with coating, all right, or ductile iron. Let's choose stainless steel.
Normal stainless.
Normal stainless steel. All right, and then we also have 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of seal configurations. So commonly EPDM, MBR is typically used. So let's use EPDM and let's pretend we are working with water as a medium. But if you were confused about seal configuration, once again, press the I button for information, and it then prompts you and says, well, typically this seal configuration is used for this type of media. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, just scroll down slightly further if you don't mind. You see that it has
Mode of
RC mode operations. Let's click on that. You'll see that you can choose a double acting or a single acting unit. So double acting means, of course, it's reliant on a signal to open and close it. Single acting means that, of course, if there's an air failure, it's going to allow the air, the spring to force it back into open or closed position. So let's choose double acting.
Double acting.
Right. The operating pressure refers to the type of air pressure available, instrument air often called, but at the site itself. So very often the pneumatic airlines are less than 6 bar, or designed 6 bar.
So let's work on 5 because let's say they've got a low pressure.
A bit of safety factor.
Okay.
Speaking of safety factor, just go and click on the I above there, please. So safety factor refers to what you need to compensate for different types of media, right? And also gives you hints. So for example, for a sticky media, or for example, a very fluid media, you can choose different safety factors. So for water, 1.35 is more than adequate. But if you went to a sticky media, you could choose like 1.65 or 1.7 with it be.
Awesome.
Okay. And then the rest of the defaults in already. So let's move on. All right. So you see now that the first systems tab's ticked, the valve medium tab's ticked. Let's go and tick at the application itself, Marcus. All right. Lastly, safety function. Do you want it to close in the event of failure, open, or remain in position? Let's choose close.
Okay.
All right. And you'll see now the complete configuration is now done. Just click on the show button above the order type, order code if you don't mind, or below. Yeah. So like your configuration tool, the same concept applies here. This also provides you a configurable component,
yes,
which is with a C number, which means that you can actually order that entire configured unit from Festo itself, pre-configured,
yeah,
pre-assembled and tested, or you can punch that part number
into the online shop.
Into the online shop again, or you can punch the part number into the website, and it gives you a breakdown of components. So you can choose to assemble it yourself.
Very
right.
interesting.
Now, I know we're running out of time now, so I'm not going to belabor this point anymore, but I think you can see that Festo's software is designed around simplicity and really reducing your design time and security. Once you have designed around the right parameters, you're guaranteed this will work for you. And that's the warm fuzzy feeling that clients get from us.
Yes.
They know that it is designed to work and it will work properly. All right. But I think we're at the point now whereby we should open the floor to our listeners. That's it. To see if they have any questions for us and any comments. So you're welcome to unmute your mics. Otherwise, you can, of course, type in the chat pane and we'll gladly attend to your questions. We've got another, how many minutes left, Marcus?
Another 10 minutes.
Great.
So, Kirsha, would you do us the favor and unmute, or Kirsha or Nikita running in the background, our star ladies, if you could unmute everybody, then if they want to unmute and ask a question.
Thanks. Everyone's been unmuted. You'll just have to unmute your own mics if you'd like to speak. So now you have the ability to unmute, and if you prefer, you can also type your questions in the chat.
So for those of you that don't have questions, we do also take order numbers. Please, no comments on the bad humor from Russell's side. My humor was good, we know that. But I must say, my colleague was in deep Africa for a few days. He's only come back.
I'm surprised I can speak English still. Yeah. Yeah, Marcus, also I think the offer is there too for all of the listeners out there. If there is a product they'd like more training on, we can provide that for them. They want a deeper explanation, or even, for example, if they've got applications or challenges in the plant they need assistance with, that may not be covered by these products, but just in general, we are of course happy to accommodate you. So please let us know.
Okay, no questions in the chat. We do have Henry who's got his hands up. Henry, you can unmute your mic if you'd like to ask a question. Sorry.
Hi, Henry.
Okay, he's put his hand on. John Baptiste, do you have a question? You've got your hand up. You can also unmute your mic. All right. Seems that there are no questions. I think you guys have done an excellent job of.
Well, I certainly hope so, but certainly from our side, I'd like to make a big thanks to our audience for taking the time out this morning to listen to us.
Yeah.
Excuse the small technical glitches this side. We're still learning the webinar and forum and trying to share PC screens and mouses and so forth.
We still prefer doing these face-to-face, drinking your coffee.
Exactly. But we'll get there. But certainly, I think moving forward, we'd like to present more topics like this to the audience, because ReadyFesta is releasing approximately 150 patents every year, and on top of that, hundreds of products. So it's important to remain abreast of these technologies and products and innovations so that you, of course, can benefit in your plants from these respective devices.
That's it.
Okay, sorry, gentlemen, I do see Tennis Bester has his hand up. Do you have a question?
Good morning, guys. Thank you for the webinar. It's great stuff. Russell, question to you. Is the VTOP for the DFPDs available? If you can answer that one, please.
Any week now. There was a small delay with regards to the COVID hiccup and with regards to the delivery situation, but it was a youth release last month, and I think it's any month now. The next month it should be on the marketplace. We'll be bringing it into the country. I don't know what you think, but for me it's an exciting product. It's going to eliminate a lot of heartache in the plants and make things very simpler to change the setup when you want to change and add components to it.
Yes, I totally agree. If you look from a maintenance point of view, it's a no-brainer. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks, Dennis. All right, so ladies and gents, if there's nobody else, no other questions, as my colleague here, Russell, said, you're more than welcome to either get in touch with one of the application engineers, your sales engineers, or directly with us. There is a handout in the section for you guys with the latest electric automation portfolio. If you guys want to download that, just gives you an overview of all of the products that is available. And then, send us an email. Gershon then might be launching a questionnaire at the end. So please stay and just answer a couple of questions. It's just for us to find out exactly what you desire, what you need, what you liked, and maybe disliked. And then from our side, thank you very much for attending. Russell, thanks for doing this with me. I know it was a mad rush flying back from Africa to come sit and do this. So from our side, thank you. It was awesome fun.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, for the compliment. So from our side, guys, thank you very much. Have fun and see you, and stay safe out there. Hide away from COVID and hide away from all the shops.
I hope you've tested negative.
That's the only negative test I've ever had. From our side, thank you very much, people. Enjoy.
Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Marcus. Excellent webinar. Cheers, guys.